Yes, it is April 15th. For some people, that means it is tax day and all along those lines. But I'm thinking most people have already got theirs done, but there might be still some people doing that last minute rush and all along that kind of space. But definitely there is some things going on in the Trump trial because the Trump criminal trial is to begin in Manhattan. So that is going on. So the Trump hush money trial will be proceedings and that'll be going on. And some folks are really wondering if they're going to be televised. So that'll be interesting to see whether they are televised or not. And in over there in the UK, Sunak is facing a new cause to prescribe Iran's Revolutionary Guard after the Israel attack. So definitely that's something else that is going on as Iran even launched a strike on Israel. So that is something that took place over the week and all along those lines. So definitely that is something that is going on as well. And the Sydney church is also taking place as well. And Bishop was attacked during the sermon and all in that space. Yeah, so definitely there's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of things taking place. So,
Looks like you're
there's a
beaming.
number of things taking on in the world. So I'm going to bring on our other folks and see what they've got to say. So we've got Nick here and a number of other things going on. So I'm going to drive well. We got Rick too, and I'll be right back after this other meeting.
Hi, how's
We, we,
everyone doing?
we have the whole world arriving. Well, the thing is, Mark usually does the news, so I'll brief you on the news real briefly. There's a war going on in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Oh, wait a minute, that's not news. That's been going on for 2,000 bloody years. So let's take a look what other news. Russia and Ukraine are fighting each other, but apparently that's not interesting. So the media has declared that war to be a stalemate, not interesting, and so we're not looking at the Russia-Ukraine war anymore. Other than that, since it's a slow news day, we're talking about the weather here. I'm just letting you know, you guys are beaming in from Bali, Bali High, and all that other stuff. Okay, let you know what else is going on in the United States. Nothing new. A bunch of people get murdered every day on the streets. As you know, the United States has one of the highest crime rates in the world, and frankly, the western part of the world has some of the highest murder rates in the whole world. So I'll be moving to Spain. But wait, there was one other news, right? University of Denver won the national hockey tournament, and that's one of my many alma maters besides the University of South Florida and the University of Miami. I give credit to the U. Went to a lot of universities and collected degrees. So what else are you going to do? And so there's nothing new happening in the United States. Oh, we're going broke. Medicare is going to go broke. We'll discuss that later on. Billionaires are avoiding taxes because our tax system's screwed up. I mean, I can't blame them. They just are doing what they should. Billionaires do, not pay taxes. Except Mark Cuban announced he just paid $228 million in federal income taxes today. So
That's it.
Well, I know you look at that's it, but depending on who you are, that's a lot of money, or that's it, depending on who you are. Bill Gates, who'd go, finally a tax break. But what you find out, and we're going to be going over that with David Walker, why the tax policy in the United States, I should say, is just broken. It really just doesn't work here. So I want to listen to Bali, since you guys are in Bali, and I'm jealous. I'm heading to Spain on July 31st. So I'll be in Barcelona for quite some time. But Bali is also on the list. So tell us a little bit about what your experience is, maybe Kim and Bali High. All I remember is from South Pacific. Bali High, Bali High.
Bali High. It is such a different pace here. You just got to learn to slow down a little bit, not be in a hurry. Plan your agenda for long drives. Do not rent a car here, and unless you are a really good motorcycle driver, don't rent a motorcycle here. The streets are too crowded. Of course, they drive on the different side of the street than we do. I'm not going to say the wrong side. And it is just insane. I mean, feel like I'm taking my life into my own hands when I walk down the street to go to the grocery store. It's very intense. There are no rules that I can see. You just pretty much have to step out into the street and start walking. Occasionally, in the major cities, there will be a police officer there that will help get you through. Other than that, I love it here, except that you got to get used to the bugs, and you got to say you're not going to kill the bugs. So far, there's been nothing poisonous other than a mosquito, but there are ants everywhere. Ants are just by the millions. They are everywhere, the little teeny tiny ones, middle-sized ones, big ones. When I read something on Planet Earth about ants consuming majority of the Earth, well, yeah, they do. They are majority of it right here in Bali. The other thing is, flies, and then we've got birds that wake you up in the morning. Learn to get used to having air conditioner unless you're staying in a resort. We're staying in a house, so we try to keep the electric bill down. And, we just use the AC when we need it. But if you keep the windows open or you sit outside, the breeze will keep you somewhat cool. That's something else. Just get over being dry. You're going to sweat all day or be in the swimming pool or in a waterfall, which are just absolutely gorgeous here. Accessible by a driver. That's something else that's wonderful is having a driver here is very cost effective compared to in the States. And some of them are like they film you, like they all carry a device or they'll take your camera and they'll take you to the what they call the Instagram promo points. And they'll film you in those sections of Bali. So it's gorgeous. We've traveled out. We've been to a couple of resorts and thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. The food is amazing. I will say this is like the center of the earth here for food. There is food from Russia. There's food from India, Mexico, maybe America. But anyway, there's food from every walks of the earth right here in Bali. You don't have to go anywhere. You call a Grab. They bring you the food. Oh, the France. Yeah, I was ordering crepes today. So, I mean, it's a different pace. Learn to slow down a little bit, not be in a hurry. If you're going to come here, I've read many books on this since I've been here. Plan to be here at least 2 weeks. If you can, 4, because there's just so much to do. So I love it. I'm absolutely. Brandon and I are going on a snorkeling trip to one of the islands off of Bali, and then it's just looking great. And Brandon's filming a new show from Bali for us, and I'm going to play the trailer. If you guys give me a second, here we go. We did the trailer today, so here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Why
That
is
it?
Not? There we go. Try again. Well, Nick, can you see it? Maybe if you hit
No,
it.
the trailer's not in the box. It was in the box.
It's in the box.
Okay, well, the thing is that I guess that could be showing on the Pod TV Travel Network, which has its own network and has its own star, by the way, who I see every day now because apparently he runs 24/7 on Pod TV. Don't ask me, ask Sean, because he does the development. I don't do it.
The travel
He
channel.
does the
He
stuff.
certainly does. Yep.
Okay, yeah, you can.
Hi, Brandon. Brandon,
That's Brandon.
share
Yeah,
a little bit
everybody's
about.
Brandon's really
Oh, first off, guys, it's Brandon's birthday. So happy birthday,
Oh, happy
Brandon.
birthday! Are you serious?
He's here celebrating
Okay.
his 30th.
Wow.
And yeah. So
Double
in the
that,
States, it
double
would
that,
be
and add
more.
more, and you'll get to my age. Double it and add
Mine
more.
too. Yeah.
But go on. Okay, go on, Brandon. Unmute yourself.
All right. But
Well, so no, it's been great. We're having a great time here. I'm thrilled Kim was able to fly down and clear her schedule to hang out with me for the month. It's funny because I would describe it as very joyful being to connect with nature. Yes, there are bugs. Yes, there are spiders and mosquitoes, but we're really getting to have a great time experiencing all that the world has to offer. And this new show, this new series, I'm very excited to be filming. YouTube exclusive. I hope you all subscribe and check it out. It'll be great because a lot of people are looking for adventures beyond maybe what they know, whether it be Europe, whether it be South America. So having the ability to come here and film a unique show that features not just things you can do in Bali, which you might be able to learn on a website or on a blog, but really the ins and outs, how to book a nice villa, how to find a good place, like where do you want to stay? Do you stay for 2 weeks and set up a home base? Do you go abroad? This will be something that I think will be very interesting for not just viewers, but for audiences who are looking for something different. And that's what we're trying to provide. That's what we're trying to create. So hopefully it's something interesting, something different. And of course, if Bali's not for you, if the tropics and the heat and some mosquitoes and some ants aren't for you, my YouTube channel features a lot of other destinations as well: Europe, South America, USA. You want to take a weekend trip and go to Chicago for the weekend. You want to take a day trip to San Francisco and see Alcatraz. I've got you covered there. So I hope people come check it out. I hope people follow the series and are interested and consider maybe a little bit longer of a flight for a much more relaxed vacation. Kim is very right. It's island time here. It is. We hang out all day. We lay by the pool. You want to wake up at noon. You want to wake up at 6 a.m. and go do yoga and running. You can do all of it here. And hopefully the guide that I'm making will be very thorough, very detailed, and people will be able to actually find a trip that's well suited for them.
Okay, it sounds like you're slackers. Would that be the right thing to say? Slackers.
That's the way to be when you're here. You want to lay by the pool, have some cocktails, go do some adventure-y things, take 3 days and lay by the pool. Go do some adventure-y things, take 3 days and lay by the pool.
Hard-working Americans that I'm used to. Definitely not the hard-working Americans, the slackers in Bali. So how long before you come back stateside? Wait, Brandon, you don't go back stateside. You go to Europe, don't you? Or where's your
No, I do. So I'm flying back to the States on the 28th. Right now is the plan. I did put in for a visa extension here, but probably will be flying back to the States somewhere around the end of April to head back domestically for a little while. And that's because there's lots of great destinations domestically too. Not everybody can take a trip to somewhere like Indonesia. So being able to showcase great things to do in Toledo, Chicago, Detroit, San Jose, all of those things are really key aspects to travel, because travel is more accessible than it ever has been before, but it can be more accessible for people if they realize that they don't need to save up for a trip to somewhere like Bali. They can fantasize about that and watch the series, and I hope they do, or they can put themselves in a budget airline flight, hop over to Phoenix, hop over to Rio Rancho, and still have a really great positive experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so you're missing what's going on here in the United States. So I'll also brief you something else. Your friend Donald Trump is going to be at a trial today, and it's one of his trials because of apparently he snuck $130,000, if he can do so, to a lady named Stormy Daniels, who purportedly is an adult film star, which is something that maybe Rick specializes in. He can give us a little bit of background because he's good friends with those people and also the Donald. So, Rick, can you give us an update on your friend Donald Trump?
She's in more recent years, she's become more of an adult film director, though I watched the documentary on her, and then this whole thing has thrown her life into chaos and made her miserable because, his supporters, threaten her. Though, I mean, she's made, it's wrecked her financially. It just made her miserable, and through no fault of her own, really, she got sucked in by Trump, who was saying he could get her on The Apprentice, the TV show where people compete to work for him. And he couldn't. The network people were like, no, we can't put a porn star on your show. So, I mean, I wrote the first and only screenplay I've written was for a porno. It was 28 pages. They said, we have 7 sex scenes. We need 4 pages of dialogue and action between every sex scene. So my writing partner and I cranked those out.
Okay, that sounds like an exciting form of occupation. Let's see what's happening in the chess world and Ukraine world with Sasha Starr. Last thing I heard is Ukraine's being ignored. My friend on LinkedIn, Robert Stamatra, was going, the United States is not an ally. And of course, he got like 500 comments on LinkedIn. He goes, the United States doesn't have an Iron Dome like they do in Israel. They're an ally of Israel, but not Ukraine. I don't know what your thoughts on that was, but it was a firestorm in LinkedIn, Sasha. They were condemning, one guy was, and he's been on your show too, Robert Stamatra. He was on for one show. He was basically condemning the United States' stance on Ukraine. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's very difficult to compare the situation in Israel and Ukraine. There's something is in common. The common is that they have basically the same enemies. But the distinction, a huge one, is that Russians are really doing the policy of the genocide of Ukrainian people. They're systematically ruining the very important, vital infrastructure and killing innocent civilians. That's what's not happening in Israel, thank God. And that's where it's all different. Now, to defend Ukraine from this, it needs a fair amount of Patriot missiles, which is a cornerstone of Iron Dome defense of Israel. It's all based on Patriot missiles. So if Ukraine would have at least some more to defend the important cities, like, of course, Kyiv, but Kyiv is defended quite well. In fact, the latest missiles they're firing against other cities like Kharkiv, Odessa, Zaporizhia, some others, not Kyiv. Kyiv is defended perfectly. So if they would have more Patriot missiles, they could defend other cities as well. And slowly to prepare the attack against Crimea. Crimea is the most vulnerable Russian point in Ukrainian territory, and it could be taken over realistically in the next few months, maybe even faster.
So
Okay.
I looked it up because you said nobody's paying attention, and currently Russia holds about 18% of Ukraine's land area. So that includes Crimea, which they've held for 10 years and is about 3% of it. So along the eastern side of Ukraine, they hold 15% of the country. But that hasn't changed much since October of last year. It's been stalemate, with the border moving 5 or 10 miles, as it's like World War I. They're kind of hunkered down, except stalemate doesn't mean it still chews through thousands and tens of thousands of people on each side. Mm-hmm. Though it has depleted Russia's military resources, and Russia is only selling about 20% as much weapons to its countries it's friends with as it was selling 5 years ago. So that,
a very important point is that Ukraine is extremely successful in attacking Russian oil refineries. It's attacked already well more than 20, and some of them are no longer producing oil products. And this is exactly what they have to do to attack more and more Russian-based targets. That will bring, first of all, it disables Russian oil production, which is by far the biggest currency maker in Russia. So that alone is perfect. Then another thing is that by attacking Russian-based targets, they're bringing war to Russian people. So they no longer can say that, oh yeah, everything is fine. Oh, there are some people fighting in Ukraine. Also, it debunks the myth, quite popular in the West, that, okay, look, the bunch of barbarians fighting another bunch of barbarians. Why do we have to help one of them? Let them just fight out, and figure out who is right and who is wrong, or whatever it might be. I would say that this is must be very popular view among MAGA followers. Hopefully, it no longer will be a factor, simply because once Trump will be in jail and MAGA will lose all elections, presidential, the House and Senate, the Trumpism will be over. Okay, can you imagine that Trump will lose his election, will be sitting in jail, and he will still lead a Republican Party, and he will be a Republican nominee in the year of 2028.
How?
I fail to see that.
How?
I don't think it will happen. So
How?
hopefully things will get into the right places.
Okay, this is not good, but I was going to go to Brandon and ask him a question based on being an American. My first trip overseas, I went to St. Edmund's Hall, Oxford University, where I did part of my law training at Oxford. And when I was at Oxford, I took a trip down to France, which was a mistake, and became homeless for a night. But it was the first time I realized that people treated me as an American. I wasn't a Democrat. I wasn't a Republican. I was an American. Okay. But before that, I didn't realize I was American. I don't think Americans realize they're Americans. They think they're Democrats or Republicans. But here's my question to you, Brandon. Since you've traveled a lot, because I see the Brandon travel thing on Facebook where you're going everywhere, how are Americans perceived over there? Because as I'm heading to Spain and Europe for an indefinite amount of vacation time, getting permanent residency status so I can travel wherever I want, when I want in Europe. But my question is, I started thinking, hey, I'm going to go to these countries and I'm going to probably be recognized as an American. And do they hate Americans, like Americans, or what's going on over there?
Excuse me. I think.
Aha, there it is. There's the gallows transaction taking place. What do you think of Americans? Go on.
It's important to know that when you're abroad, Americans encompass a lot of people. People from Mexico, people from Uruguay, people from Brazil, people from Canada. They're all Americans. They're all from America. So
I'll
that's
rephrase
a hard
the question.
delineation.
United States of America, Americans.
Well,
what are they?
it's important.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yeah, it's a good distinction. You know, a lot of times they're it depends on the country you go to. I mean, that's a hard question to answer. Some places are thrilled that there's tourism there and excited that people are coming from abroad to be there. Some places have seen a lot of Americans run their cities dry, buy up the land, buy up the resorts, whatever.
Okay, that's me.
They're not thrilled that you're there.
Okay.
And sometimes they're not thrilled that you're there, but they're happy that you're going to taste test their new burger, because we Americans are known for apparently our hamburgers. And so sometimes you will find a chef that, an American, try this burger I made, and we'll be thrilled that you like it or don't. So, the perception abroad is, generally I would say that all the countries I've been to are certainly more accepting of foreigners and of travelers and tourists than we are in the States. Even if they're, deep down not thrilled that you're there and that you're, inflating the currency, right? If you're in Argentina or one of the other countries and you're playing the game, with currency. They're maybe not thrilled that you're doing that, but they're happy that you're open to experiencing that culture and experiencing that group of people. So it comes down to the traveler. I mean, are you going to go to Spain and buy the nicest villa and expect the nicest things? Or are you going to go there and try to actually dive into the culture and dive into the people and understand the language and the history and the traditions of the people?
How about neither? All I want to do is I'm going to be on the internet all the time. I'm doing
you can do that
digital
from anywhere.
nomad
You can do
visa.
that from Detroit. You can do that from
I know that.
Chicago.
Right.
You can do that from
Right.
anywhere.
But then the thing is now I can go to the beaches and go to the restaurants, and I can also I'll be close to the airport, so I can go to Vienna and go to Prague and Budapest. So I can take weekend trips to other places,
Yeah.
but mainland will be on the internet.
That's
so
the beautiful thing about
I'll
Europe is that within Europe, it's very easy to go from one place to another. It's
Right.
much smaller and closer than a lot of people realize. So taking a trip up to Belgium for the day or to Germany for the weekend is very accessible.
Hey,
Yeah,
Brandon,
because from here it's a long way. Oh, Mark's back.
I'm back.
Our
Yeah,
fearless
Brandon,
leader.
Brandon, but just out of curiosity, since Nick has decided he's going to run away to Spain and everything, and we
Not
do know
running
that
away,
there
I'm just getting
are
placed.
problems in all of the world, and you have done a lot of world travel and all in that space. So I'm thinking that there are some issues, even issues that we deal here, like homelessness and other issues that he might deal with even if he moves to Spain. So if you can just let Nick know what are some of the issues that he might run into when he goes to Europe, whether that be Spain or Italy, wherever he decides to move to.
I already have my plane trips and hotel rooms and buying a house in Spain, so it'll be Spain to start.
Well, I love Spain. I would say that's a great spot. I mean, I had a residency visa for Spain there for a while, and I had a great time in Spain. It was really lovely. One of the things I really liked about Spain, and a lot of places in Europe, is that they really value just life. So you might want to go out shopping at mid-afternoon. In some of these countries, it's not going to happen. They've closed for lunch for 3 hours, and they're enjoying a nice long lunch with their family and a nap, and they're relaxing by the beach, and then they'll come open their shop up in the evening. The other thing about Spain is that you definitely have to be a night person. There's not a lot of dinner restaurants that are open or serving dinner before 9 p.m. Because you go to dinner later there. So there's not a lot happening for morning people, I think, in Spain. I mean, you can be the fitness people, right? The yoga mat people, but for the most part, there's not going to be a lot open before 8 to 10 a.m. in Spain, because they're open late. They go to bed late. They all kind of wake up later. They take a nice siesta in the afternoon. So you definitely have to be aware of that in your scheduling and planning of things. For me, going out to dinner at 9 p.m. can be a little late, and I'm ready for bed, but embracing that and that cultural change is important. When you talk about homelessness and things like that, I mean, generally speaking, every other country other than the United States, every other Western country other than the United States does a really great job of caring for their homeless population, and making sure that they have some sort of social support system, whether it's healthcare, whether it's a place to sleep, whether it's food. I don't know that that's a problem that you really need to be worried about in the States as much as we are. Most of the homeless population isn't there to rob you and mug you blind. They're just trying to sleep to be able to function for the next day. We do think that we do have that problem in the States where we have a lot of homeless people, but you won't find that as much abroad. You'll still find it somewhat. It's definitely still present, but a little less present, and it makes vacations for tourists more enjoyable. It makes the experience you have with businesses and locals more enjoyable, because they're not so much afraid constantly for their life and livelihood, right? They're just enjoying life. And Spain is very much that way. It is very relaxed. It is very, we hang out, we enjoy, nothing moves fast here. And I really loved that about Spain.
Yeah. Also, the average life expectancy in Spain is 84. In the United States, it's 77. But go on, Rick.
Could you talk a little bit about the vibe of Americans versus? My wife and I visited our kid in Europe. We took a side trip to Belgium, and I think we were both a little surprised how we didn't get, like, Americans are kind of loud. We take up a lot of space. We rode a lot of public transportation, and we didn't get a vibe off the Belgians. They just seemed to be like quietly going about their business. We did visit some touristy, some broy parts of town with louder people, but mostly like people were just not as announcy of themselves as Americans.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true anywhere you go in the world. Everyone knows anywhere you go in the world if you travel, Americans are very loud, and they will let themselves be known. They're the first ones to be at the restaurant and be, what the French would call yelling at somebody, across the table. We're very boisterous. We're very loud. We're known for being very loud. We're known for laughing loudly, and what some people think is appropriate, some people think is inappropriate. We're very much known for that. Belgium's a nice country because they're, they have a very cool kind of nice party scene that's below the radar. Like, it's not quite Berlin level, but it's enough that they very much enjoy their evenings out. But you hit it right on the nose. Americans are, no matter where you are, eventually some waiter will point to you and go, "It's a table of Americans that just walked in," and I'll go, how can you tell? Because they walk in going, "Hey, excuse me, table for two? Oh, isn't that nice? And aren't you from?" And it's like, "Oh, this is a lot. You're just having dinner. It's an exchange. We're gonna serve you great food. You're gonna pay for the food, and you're gonna leave. We don't need all this." So we are very much known for being the loud ones.
You didn't need the announcement. Hey, just really quickly, because I had heard Gus having friends from around the world, and this is something that I don't know that Nick is aware of, and I'm just wondering how he's going to deal with it. He's a lawyer, so he'll probably deal with it very well. But apparently there is a case of something called occupation in Spain, where apparently people are literally squatted in people's houses and all along those lines. So apparently that is something that Spain is complaining about. So they are saying that there
are squatters. Yeah.
Squatters' rights versus property owners' rights. So people are literally just kind of like parking in your house. So I'm trying to figure out what you're going to do the first time that somebody's just parked in your house.
You can't vacate your house. If you do so, a squatter can come in and basically take it. But I've already hired lawyers over there that'll help me through the process, Mark. The first thing you do is get your fleet of attorneys to level any problems that take place over there. They're expensive, but they do their job. The other thing I found out, there was not much homelessness when I was there, not like the US where we love homeless people, so we create a lot of them here. Over there they don't. I'm not sure how they don't do that. Chess clubs, I already checked that out, Sasha. There are 20 chess clubs in Barcelona city alone. Like, no kidding. 31 Starbucks in Barcelona. I mean, so it's pretty much of a civilized place to be in. At least that's been my opinion.
So are you moving there? Did you buy a house over there?
I haven't bought a house there yet. I already have my plane tickets, my hotel room, and I'm looking for a house right now. So
wait a minute, I gotta call you on something, because you sometimes say that even on Economics Monday that you oftentimes are worried about the debt of the United States and everything, but apparently Spain has a high unemployment rate.
I know they have a high debt, but they're actually dealing with it, unlike the U.S. And the other thing is we have to buy health insurance, okay? And even though we're older, I'm going, well, what's this health insurance going to cost? Last time when I was Rick's age, it was like $20,000 a year. You'd have to spend at least 20 before they'd pay a dime. There, it's pretty expensive too. It's going to be $150 each for me and my wife to get healthcare in Spain. How do you like that? A month, $150 a month. That's it. And I said, well, what do they pay for? Everything. Welcome to healthcare in Spain. I mean, and this is good news, because your system of Medicare will go broke this decade, but I don't have to worry about it because I'll be on the Spain $150 month health insurance.
Nick, when you go there,
goodbye, America. When you go broke, when your Medicare goes broke, I'll still be covered.
Hey, I think you've been watching my travel channel a little too much. You're too excited to leave the broken system as opposed to.
He wants to leave.
What am I going to do? I can't fix it. This place is going down the toilet. I'm trying to right now transfer a lot of cash over to euros, but they want these big commissions, and I got to make sure I go to the right place to transfer to euros and get the heck out of the dollar. The dollar's going to go down the toilet. The only
So Nick,
question
when
is
you go there,
where.
are you going to join the platform for people affected by mortgages? Because apparently there's an activist group because there is a number of properties over there that are owned by the banks, and I know you're.
Oh yeah, but that's great, Mark. I've already looked into that. The mortgage rate of there for a home is 2.5%. Okay, like no kidding. Go look it up. Idealistia.com. Go buy real estate in Spain, and you'll see. Oh, the mortgage interest rate for 2.5%. Okay, hello. Now, last time I checked in your country, which is still my country, it's a little more than 2.5% for your interest rate here. Hello. Okay, so at 2.5% interest rate, sky's the limit, baby. Buy what you want, and I'll actually have a mortgage rather than buy all cash because I go at 2.5%. Why wouldn't you just buy a place there? And I'll just keep all my money in stocks, bonds, and all this other stuff. But 2.5% is a great rate. So if you think about it, look at the economics. Your health insurance is $150 a month. Your mortgage is at 2.5%, and you can buy properties all over the place cheaply. Or I can stay here and suffer like everybody else does, having to listen to Trump and Biden take the country down the tubes. The only question is who you're going to elect to take the country down the tubes. So I'll be in euros, and then when your country fails, I'll come back and buy most of the United States.
So you go buy most of the United States. You already said you're going to buy most of the media and everything. You already said you want to buy all of the media that's out there and everything. But Rick, I think that you're going to go squatting at UCLA since apparently there's a squatting thing going on in Spain. So are you going to go squat in the offices of UCLA? Since I know here at Duke and a number of other places there are empty buildings. So I figure you can just go over there and squat and make a home for yourself. So what do you think? Are you going to go squat on?
I can't UCLA? Afford to do that. Parking at UCLA is like $17 a day. I dread going to UCLA because I don't like paying the man $17 to park.
Wow.
So even if you squat at UCLA, you're spending $500 a month just on parking.
Yeah. By the way, they hate cars over in Spain. I mean, they said, hey, it's cheaper in Europe, the cars, but in Spain it isn't. The car, there's no bargains in cars.
In Bali, there are no parking spaces either. You just rent cars and they drive you everywhere you want to go, or little mopeds. And I mean, you rent the driver. Even with mopeds, they come pick you up in a moped and take you where you need to go. No parking. No worries.
Oh, but how do they treat Americans over there, Kim? I mean, the thing is, awesome. Are you treated well?
Awesome. Yeah? Oh my gosh. Okay. And the cost of living here is phenomenal, Nick. I mean,
it's expensive.
I ate lunch for like $6.25. We stayed in a magnificent hotel in Ubud for $26 a night. It was absolutely glamorous. I mean,
for $26 a night, you can't even get a Motel 6 here. What are you talking about?
And our balconies were huge. Like, weren't they, Brandon? I mean, we had this big, gorgeous balconies. Mine overlooked a garden and a swimming pool. We were right in the middle of the town, $26. We didn't need a car. We walked everywhere we wanted to go or rented a car. I mean, it was just great.
Any tips on the miserable part of getting to these places? I assume getting to Bali is like 24 hours on planes. And from LA to Europe is 10, 12 hours. And we visit our kid, once every year or so. And one of my flights, I thought I'd have a seat open next to me. And then after the plane was already taxiing, they moved a crazy lady who'd gotten in a fight elsewhere on the plane next to me, and she twitched and kicked me and just for 10 hours. But then the last time we went, we flew midweek and there was nobody in our section of the plane and we could stretch out. So any tips on surviving these long flights?
Yeah, I mean, first I would say, don't be afraid to talk to your flight attendants on those flights. Let them know, hey, this person next to me is really making this unpleasant. They're generally very good about being receptive. They understand that you're on a plane because they're on a plane too for 10, 12, 14, 15, 16 hours. So talk to them, make friends with them. That's always your best asset on long flights. I would also say that, when you talk about long flights, if you're talking about from, LA to Europe, you're talking about generally, at the very least a 10-hour flight, maybe a 6-hour flight with a layover and another 6-hour flight. From LA, you're talking about the same thing to Asia, right? You're talking about a 12-hour flight to Singapore, to Hong Kong, to a lot of these places in Asia. And then from there, it's an easy, quick flight, 3-hour flight down to somewhere like Bali. Australia is 4 hours from here. So, yes, flights can be long and challenging, but, first I would say subscribe to youtube.com/friend Scott Stewart and learn all the hacks.
Learn all
But
the hacks and everything, because you'll have all the hacks and everything. Hey,
it is.
Brandon,
And
just
I flew here from Amsterdam, which was, for me, the mistake I made, and everybody always makes mistakes in travel, was taking a overnight flight from Amsterdam to Singapore. And I opted for a long layover in Singapore because I thought, well, after I get off, a 12-hour flight, I'm going to want to breathe a little bit before I get on the next plane. So I had an obscenely long layover in Singapore. And halfway through that, I realized, oh, no, I much rather would have just, taken an hour and then pushed onwards and gotten here. And those are things you learn by doing it. But I do think that, if you're looking at flights from LA to Europe, I would encourage you to also look at flights to Asia. There are a lot of destinations in Asia that are affordable to fly from LA to Tokyo and Tokyo down to somewhere like Phuket in Thailand. Great vacation destination. It's going to be about the same travel time as it's going to take you to get to somewhere in Europe you want to go. And you're going to experience something very different in a very different culture and a very different environment and vibe than you would in Europe.
hey, Brandon, just really quickly, what is? Because
Well, I would also recommend. I try to time mine so that when I get to someplace like that, especially I'm completely on the other side of the world. 24 hours of flying time. It's 37 going back. But I try to time it so that when I get there, I've been awake all day. And when I hit that time zone, I'm going to go to bed at my normal time, which would be 10 p.m. here, not 10 p.m. there. And of course, my body's a little exhausted, but I sleep die hard, wake up the next day, no jet lag, I'm ready to go, just as if my time clock has reset. And then I plan my trip going back exactly the same way, so that when I land at my final destination, I'm at a normal waking hour. So you're going to miss a little bit of sleep, but you'll make it back up when you pass out, when you get to your final destination. Basically, that's what I did, right, Brandon? I went,
you just pass out and everything. Hey, Brandon,
Is that what they tell you? You'll do fine when you pass out at your final destination.
well, that's
Right.
what they tell you.
I do get jet lag. I get pretty bad jet lag. So I try to plan for it, as best I can.
I always tell people to hydrate a lot. That will
definitely
help
hydrate.
cut down the nervousness and depression and anxiety. So many people do fly with anxiety, and I notice the more water I drink, the better I feel. So,
Hey, just really quickly, we've got Christina with us as well, and maybe Christina's got some ideas because she's also a world traveler as well. But I know many doing this pod TV journey, IBM TV journey. I interviewed a young lady that was a stewardess here in the area, and she talked about having a plane trip. She actually wrote a book about it, where there was literally a kangaroo on the plane. So I was just wondering, what is the most unusual thing that you have seen in your world travels? Because she talked about this kangaroo that was literally on the plane with her and all along those lines. I think it was actually on a flight that was different from the one that she was working, but definitely one of her associates had talked about it. So, and this is for anybody, including Sasha, what is the most unusual thing you've seen on these international flights?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Unusual. I don't know. I've never seen a kangaroo on my plane, but I am planning a trip to Bali. So this conversation is super interesting. I was looking up flights yesterday, actually. And if I leave out of Vegas, there's a layover in Hawaii. And then the second leg of the flight would be in Australia, which it's a little weird. I don't know why I would take that route, or anyone, but, I could fly from here to LAX, and then that layover would be in Manila. So I don't know if that's a better option from Kimberly and Brandon, since they're there.
Brandon is
Brandon,
doing a different one because he left from a different part of the world. But going back, I think he's going through Dallas. But there's so many different
I would say
ways.
it depends a lot on not just your airline. And for me, I try to marry an airline a lot so that I can reap some rewards. But on your comfort level, I think that's the really important thing. Knowing what kind of flyer you are. So if you're the kind of person who like the idea of a 16-hour stretch on a plane seems nerve-wracking or stressful, absolutely fly to Australia, take a quick, have a bunch of layovers, take longer layovers if you want. Go stay at a hotel for the evening and go see Sydney, right?
Well,
Why not?
Australia scares me a little bit with their wildlife. Now that we're talking about kangaroos on planes,
You never know.
Wildlife should never
gigantic
scare
wildlife
you.
in Australia.
There's interesting wildlife here, but I have to say very comfortable here. But I would definitely, like Brandon said, take your extra layovers to kind of. But I just found a new airlines I like, Cathay Pacific. Every seat is like first class, even though they got first class and the sleeper beds and stuff like that. We had 3 meals served to us coming over on China, ice cream. Literally, I'm in economy, literally flying economy, and got treated like first class. It was wonderful.
I have
I
a
was
tip
with- I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a tip for nervous flyers. If you're flying into a city that gets hot in the summer, like Houston, Phoenix, or if you're flying into a high altitude city like Denver, Albuquerque, try not to fly at the height of summer because it gets hot, the air gets really fluffy, and it can't hold the plane up as well. So when you're landing, you get a lot of turbulence, which, I've had an aborted landing coming into Denver in the summer. In winter or anything but summer, the air is heavier, it holds the plane up better, and it's less turbulent.
That's a good
I
point.
didn't know that. It's good to know. I am flying in June though.
I think you'll be okay. Turbulence is sometimes scary, but it won't bring down the plane. Turbulence
It's hot. Don't pack any.
I was with the Lionsgate team a couple days ago because we were filming on the Strip in Vegas for the Strangers film that's coming out. And one of the members of their team were telling me that they take trips to Bali all the time and they do like wellness retreats and all that. And she was saying when she flies Korean Air or China Airlines, they'll wake them up for like mealtime just because it's a custom in Asia that you shouldn't be sleeping while everybody else is eating.
Yeah, they do.
But you also
They
would find a lot of times on American flights, any Western flight, they may not wake you specifically up, but when they turn on the lights and they come around and they're clattering and loud.
Oh yeah, I find nothing wrong with it. I just thought it was different, because here they don't care what you're doing in America, but over there, I think it's a little nice that it's customary that everybody should be up and present and dining together.
Hey, just really quickly.
I will say, take your wardrobe that you think you're going to pack for Bali, cut it in half, pack a bunch of bathing suits, a pair of good walking sandals, a pair of flip-flops, maybe one dress. That's it. Pack as loose of clothing as you can find, and no jackets, no sweater. You don't need, and you can buy, let me tell you something, you can buy whatever you need at any of the markets for a fraction of the cost that it would cost you anywhere else in the world, literally a fraction. So if I needed a dress the other day, I just went and picked up a dress at the market. It was that easy. And,
I'm excited.
And the clothes. So
I
just
wish you guys
pack
would
half.
be there.
I leave I'll be here 20 days.
From
So
here,
you
from now?
got another week and a half, if I remember correctly.
And Brandon is going to be here through the 28th. So I leave on the 24th and he leaves on the 28th.
This
Well, I
month.
should be out there. I think I land June 10th to June 29th.
Oh, wow.
So Pod TV will be airing from Bali for a little while.
Again, yeah. We'll have to get a permanent. Do you know where you're staying here?
In Kanju. I think that's how you pronounce it.
You have a house or
An Airbnb.
Okay.
That's
what we did.
And
I love it.
Just
Just spend days at the beach club. There are so many beach clubs. You can go rent a bed and hang out at the beach club all day.
So we're going to start a Pod TV affiliate network in Bali, apparently.
Bali.
Because I know this will actually be our third person that's there. Because as I said before, I believe that Billy Graham, who's actually been on a slight hiatus, but he'll be back. Is spent some time in Bali. He actually lived there for a minute with his family, and now is back in Texas and everything. So we've had a number of folks that have been to Bali, including some folks that have been interviewed from there as well. I know I had a guest on the online dinner party that was from that area as well. So we've already got a Pod TV relationship with apparently Bali, and actually there's a Bali store here in the Triangle. I think that store still exists in the art space where they do a lot of the Bali artwork. But I had a quick question for Sasha, because we only got a few more minutes to go, because I know he's very much into the investment space. And I did see that a lot of times when you go traveling, you have to have your smartphone. I've got my smartphone here, even though sometimes it feels like it's a dumb phone and everything. But Apple used to be the number one leader, and now it looks like Samsung is back in front. So, Sasha, should we all go invest in Samsung? Because apparently Samsung is now the leader once again in the global smartphone market and everything. So I'm wondering if we all need to go rush to get some Samsung investments.
Samsung is famous not only for its smartphones, it's a huge industrial complex of several different companies involved in industrial production and shipyards, and just name it. So I would recommend Samsung. I wouldn't sell my NVIDIA position to buy into Samsung yet, but maybe we'll do it later. But speaking about travel, I want to tell you something interesting. 2 days ago, I've met with my wife our regular contributor to chess program, Ken Regan. Professor Regan was with his wife. He arrived here to Toronto for this candidates tournament. And I've discovered a lot about Toronto that I was not aware of, because I had to pick him and his wife in a certain place. It was some kind of it's not bed and breakfast. It's kind of like a condominium where they rented for business people, something like that. It was very close to the tournament site. Like it's probably a half-mile walk, and it was 1 mile away from a terrific French restaurant where I made a reservation. So we met them. They got into my car, and Ken, he's kind of a technical guy, so he immediately got into the direction to the restaurant, and he said, okay, you have to go straight, to left, to right, or so on. First of all, everywhere is construction. Everywhere. There's no street when there is no construction. Second of all, it took us the distance of less than a mile. It took us 50 minutes to get there. And finally, we made it to the restaurant. It's my favorite restaurant, but I haven't been there for the last couple of years. No, even before. No, since the COVID, I haven't been there. So it was probably 5 years ago where I've been last time. So since then, they changed ownership. Then I was trying to park a car, and there was a written for Le Select Bistro. That's the name of the restaurant. So there was a space. I parked my car. We are going to the restaurant, and I said that I parked my car. So you start. They said, no, this doesn't belong to the restaurant. I said, it said Le Select Bistro. Oh, it was from previous owners, but the new ownership doesn't own this. So basically you have to park and you take a risk. You can be towed away and so on. I said, okay, I'll take the risk, but I'm not happy about that. Because when you're paying hundreds of dollars for a meal and you're taking a risk that your car will be towed away and you will spend half night to recover your car and pay a few $100s for this business. That's not a very good solution. Anyway, the meal was perfect, so thank God for that. So you learn a lot about your city by meeting the travelers, your friends, and taking them out, because I would never go to that part of downtown because simply there's nothing else to do. And finally, there was a chess site, which is horrible. It doesn't have access for handicapped people, and some people, the stairs are humongous, and people are falling and break their arms and legs. And this is a really unacceptable situation. But anyway, that's for another program. Okay, well, what I'm going to tell you is that on the way back, I asked Ken relax, and I drove the way I understand how it should be done. I drove it in about 15 minutes instead of 15.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The moral of
Hey,
the story is don't rely on computers, I guess.
Hey, don't
Yeah.
rely on computers. Hey, Nick, I was surprised I did not see you on yesterday because after I left the Hayti Heritage Center, I went downtown and there was a bunch of folks that were packed in downtown Durham because we were having our what seems to be a monthly food truck rodeo, and definitely that's where a number of food trucks, and they're all over. I know that there have been those in California, in Toronto, and a number of other places, but I was quite shocked at some of the prices. I did not get anything, but my friend that I went with did get a quick meal and everything, but some of those prices were going for like anywhere from $10 to $15 for a quick little snack, because that's basically what they amounted to. But you could have seen a lot of people, including the Duke University sports team, there as well, because they were selling their season tickets to the football game and all along those lines. So I was just wondering how many folks have enjoyed the food trucks. I'm thinking that Brandon might have gone to a food truck rodeo, maybe even in some other countries and everything as well. So I just wondering if folks have had that experience, because like I said, I want to say the going rates, and there was all kinds of, one of the things that's advantageous about those things is you get to see other cultures if you don't go to those cultures. This is also the reason I'm a big fan of the international festivals.
Food trucks. The answer is no. And I'll see you on David Walker Show. You can wrap it, Mark.
I like food, I like trucks, but I don't like food trucks.
That makes a lot of sense. Some people don't like the food trucks and all along those lines. Rick, what you got to say about it?
Yeah, I sometimes going to a food truck feels too much like camping, because you grab your food, you're sitting outside, maybe not at a table, and the wind's whipping, and I like sitting in a restaurant and being comfortable.
That makes a lot of sense. As we get ready to head out, we've got about a minute or two. Kimberly, have you been to one of those food truck rodeos, and what is your thoughts about it, as well as Christina and Brandon? Because, like I said, they're all over the country. It's not just in Durham, North Carolina, or Raleigh, North Carolina thing. So
I've known some food truck owners. What I've noticed is they've become more and more gourmet. You get a lot more choices now. I enjoy the seafood truck that they have at one of the vineyards there in Raleigh. I see them popping up here in Bali too. So I think they're okay. I'm okay with them. That's how, Nick and I first met at a hackathon, a PBS hackathon, and they were serving food in a food truck. And I don't think he quite understood food out of a food truck, but I'm okay with them. The gourmet ones are getting really good.
yeah, the Cousin Maine Lobster, which might have been the one you're talking about, was there, as well as some of the other ones that were there as well. Christina, are you a big fan of the food trucks, or do you try to avoid them over there in Vegas?
I don't mind them either. I think it depends on the setting. I work a lot of the festivals nationally for all the major concerts like EDC, Lovers and Friends, Sick New World, like that kind of thing. And that's just kind of, it's the environment you're in. You're hungry, you're going to go to a food truck, you're going to sit down on a lawn, listen to good music. So yeah, I don't mind them.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon, as we get ready to head out the door? Like they said, they got Economics Monday coming up and everything. So are you a fan of them? I'm imagining that organization, and once again, I will not say that organization's name, probably even uses those food trucks on occasion to help with their various employees.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love a good food truck. It's a great way to experience a local chef, providing local cuisine, something different, something unique to their flavors, without having to need a big formal restaurant. So I'm a big fan. Whatever kind of food truck it is, I'm happy to talk to you about what you're making, learn about what you're making. And I hope people are also excited about learning about whether it's food, travel, or any of those things with the locals in whatever city you're in.
Yep, I definitely agree with you. And I also agree with something that Sasha said, because a lot of times we don't pay attention to what is going on in our own cities until visitors come. And then we find the hidden treasures, even though there are certain things that I will go visit and will go see, because I know the Japanese Prime Minister came. And one of the things that I know people love to go to when they come to Durham is Duke Gardens, which is a botanical gardens that is very beautiful. And a lot of people love to go see it if they're coming to this area. And there's a number of other things, including a couple of the museums and other things that exist here in this area, as well as our capital city of Raleigh. But right now, we're getting ready to get on out of here. We've got Economics Monday coming up at 11 o'clock. And then we've got, of course, the media show at 12 o'clock. So we'll definitely get on out of here and have some more great conversations as we get ready to get out here and see what Nick's got going on with David Walker.